5 years across Africa and the rest of the world. This is NC Continental Prime. I'm Kofi Bartels. You're welcome. We begin in Nigeria, where the All Progressives Congress, APC, National Working Committee has issued a disclaimer to what it said is an unauthorized announcement on national television stations of the result of the Edo State gubernatorial primary election held in Benin City. Contradictory reports from Benin City, the Edo State capital, seem to suggest or have suggested that two different names were announced as candidates of the party. However, the party, through its national publicity secretary, Barrister Felix Moka, said the party will not accept results or declaration from unauthorized persons. Moka, in a statement, maintained only the chairman of the party's election committee, Senator Hope Uzodimma, who is governor of Imo State, is duly authorized to undertake final collation and announcement of the final result. Now, let's tell you that Honorable Dennis Idahosa has been declared winner of the All Progressives Congress direct governorship primary contest. Idahosa, who is a member of the House of Representatives, was declared by Imo State Governor Hope Uzodimma at the Protea Hotel in the GRA, Benin City, Edo State. Idahosa, who represents Ovia Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, will now fly the APC's ticket in the September governorship election. He was declared winner with 40,453 votes, while Senator Monday Okpebolo, representing Edo Central, got 100 votes. Well, before the announcement of Honorable Dennis Idahosa as the winner of the All Progressives Congress direct governorship primary contest, there were disruptions earlier in the day. The All Progressives Congress governorship was reportedly marred by controversy. Well, joining us tonight to look at this some more.
I have a bleeding lip and well, some blood stains on my body, but we're fine. Unfortunately, some of our equipment damaged, our tripods damaged. Let me have the other part there. And then, well, I say we are even lucky. We're luckier than some others. There was a journalist from NTA who was being brutalized. Demola, camera operator, had to run into one of the toilets with another engineer from TVC. And then somebody from, I think, Arise had his laptop broken. His laptop was smashed on somebody else's head, as a matter of fact. But thankfully, we're safe, we're good, and most importantly, we're alive. We informed some of the other colleagues from other stations to please notify us when collation commences. So they informed us, and we went together to a hotel somewhere in Benin here. But to our greatest surprise, upon getting in there, it was a very small space. It wasn't even a hall. It was the bar of the hotel. And that actually, made some bells begin to ring in my head. Like, this is very, very out of place. I've covered elections several times, and this is not a space that should be used to collate, even if it's local government election results. And then while it was ongoing, at some point, we noticed that TVC caught their live broadcast, but we didn't understand what was going on until we got some kind of notice that was circulating. And this came in after about 7 or 9 local government results had been announced. And then they announced our call for recess, so we stepped outside. While we were outside, then we noticed more movement, and then entourage of some police officers came in. The commissioner of police with some other police guards came in. And then at some point, they told everybody to step out of the hall, and that's when some boys, we don't know who they are, came in their numbers and began to brutalize journalists.
All right, that was our correspondent, Bernard Akede, who was, along with our cameraman, part of those attacked by suspected thugs at the venue of what was thought to be the State Collation Center for the APC governorship primaries. Well, joining us now is Bernard Akede, live from Benin City, the capital of Edo State, Nigeria. Bernard, I can see you have your shirt back, and of course, I don't know how you're feeling now, because the last time we spoke, you had lost your phone, and then, your phone was stolen by one of those suspected thugs and returned to you, but you had to take your shirt off because of the violence and the injuries inflicted on you, especially your lip. What's your condition right now? How are you?
I'm happy. I feel much better. It wasn't anything that a pack of ice couldn't solve. So the swelling on the lip has gotten down. The bleeding has stopped. The pain is still there though, and of course the trauma is not something that will go away immediately. But again, as I said earlier when we spoke, I'm thankful for life, and I'm glad that we are all okay.
But we're not. We hear that Ighodalo has been, that Dennis Idahosa, sorry about that, has been announced as winner of the All Progressives Congress primary right there in Edo State. There seemed to have been some confusion as to the venue of the collation. Walk us through what happened.
All right. Yes, you're right. Dennis Idahosa has been announced as the flag bearer for the All Progressives Congress for Edo State come the election in September this year. And it was announced by Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State. Now, Hope Uzodinma also doubles as the primary election committee chair of APC in Edo State. Hope Uzodinma also tried to clarify what happened, and he made this announcement at the Protea Hotel, which he says was supposed to be the actual venue for the collation of results and announcements, and not the other hotel where we were called to earlier by another group of the All Progressives Congress there. Now, the person who chaired or who called us into that particular group is his name is Uzuamaka. He's in this particular issue. He was one who declared Senator Monday Okwebola the flag bearer, and that's where the whole dispute came from. So we were called to that particular hotel. We got in there, and from the very beginning, you could tell that something was off because the whole arrangement, the whole setting was in the bar of the hotel, a very small setting. And then when the whole collation started, you could tell that things were just getting very funny. They announced 9 results. Of those 9, Senator Monday won 7, and then somebody else won 2. And after that, the whole process went on a brief recess. So it was during the recess that the Commissioner of Police came in. Some other people moved around, and the whole drama just started. Then this young man ran into the hall, so to speak, and chased out all the journalists, shattering equipment, beating people, and including us too. And I'll show you. I mentioned earlier, this is our tripod. It was also damaged in the process, of the whole disturbance. We had other journalists who had their laptops destroyed, cameras destroyed, and sadly, the hotel that we used, they also had some equipment destroyed, and some even carted away with, So that was the whole problem, and it was in all of this that they attacked journalists whom they felt were putting out false information. Unfortunately, I was also a victim of that particular attack, and my phone was taken, like you mentioned. However, the person who actually attacked me, after calling and reaching out to him, he returned my phone, and in explanation and explaining everything that happened, he even apologized, saying that they were disappointed that journalists came there to a fake setting. Of course, we had to explain that we had no idea what was going on. We were just called upon, and we had to broadcast the news, which is our job. But now, anyway, we're waiting to hear what's going to happen, because now on one side, Hope Uzodinma has announced Dennis Idahosa as the winner, and on the other side, Senator Monday has been announced as the winner. So we're waiting to see what eventually the APC is going to do at the end of all of this.
One of the traits of Nigeria politics there, a lot of gamesmanship, and we've seen that.
Sorry, could you take that again, please? I didn't hear you clearly.
I said one of the traits of politics in Nigeria, a lot of gamesmanship, and one wonders, if a party has set up a governorship primary committee headed by Hope Uzodinma, who is governor of Imo State, which is the practice of the PDP and APC, that they will send a governor there, like we saw in Edo State, where you had the Oyo State governor and the Enugu State governor. It's strange to see that someone now took you guys to another place where Hope Uzodinma was not, and all the television stations were taken there, apart from TVC. So what then happened? Can you confirm that that was not the authentic place to be and that you were all deceived by Uza Maka, or do we say that there are two results? What should we say? Or how should we take this?
Um, I, I think I would go with the former that you mentioned. We were all deceived. I would want to speak. And then to correct you, TVC was also there. As a matter of fact, TVC started broadcasting live just as we did. But I want to believe that they may have got some information along the line that we and others didn't get, and then they went off the air. And it was at that point that I began to feel that something was going on or something was wrong, to be honest. But, the way it is with journalists here, we always communicate with each other, particularly those who are not from the state. So we get numbers of other journalists so that whenever there's any information, we can share with others, and then we all go. So some of the journalists must have gotten the information that the collation of results and the announcement was about to commence in a certain hotel, Lushville, and then they disseminated that information amongst the rest of us, and all of us arrived there. By the time we got there, there were a number of journalists there already, cameras lined up, reporters, camera operators, all there, and the space was really small. It's really small, I beg your pardon. It was difficult for us to even find some kind of space. So there was no way to tell that this was a wrong location, except for the fact that it was smaller than what usually would be. And that was the sign for me that something was off.
All right. We will stay on this story, Bernard, but we thank God you're safe. Nigerian politics never ceases to surprise, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. Bernard Akedi, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Let's move over to a guest tonight joining us to look and to give some analysis of today's unfolding drama from the Edo State APC governorship primary. Is Jide Ojo. Jide Ojo is a public affairs analyst. Sir, it's good to have you join us on NC Continental Prime tonight. Let's begin by asking you for your reaction to the dramatic incidents of today. Did you see this coming, and what's your take on it?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
All right. If you can hear me now, sir, what's your reaction to the dramatic incidents of today at the APC Edo State Primaries, where we had two parallel primaries holding at the same time? And did you even, suspect or expect that something like this would happen?
Unfortunately, it leaves a sore taste in the mouth that a ruling party will get itself embroiled in this kind of controversy. How did APC end up with two parallel primaries? How did it get into situations where two candidates emerge? As late as yesterday, we learned a couple of the aspirants also withdrew from the race. Ize Yamu and I think Kenneth Imaswagu. It tells you that we are running democracy without Democrats, which is what the alarm that was raised by late Professor Claudake of blessed memory, that Nigeria is running democracy without Democrats. This is a ruling party. What kind of example, what kind of precedents are they setting when they are making mockery of democracy? If it were to be INEC that did this, they will call for the head of the chairman of INEC. And this is my point, that we will not go anywhere unless we reform the political party system of Nigeria. They are the major challenge we have in our race, in our journey to democratic consolidation. How on earth will the ruling party not be able to conduct credible, rancor-free, peaceful party primary? Look at injuries to your colleague on ground and several other journalists who are brutalized and traumatized. Is that how to practice democracy? It's really, really very unfortunate. But it tells you that a lot of work still needs to be done, despite having 25 years of this Fourth Republic.
All right, Joe, we heard, of course, you've made reference to that yesterday. 3 out of the 12 withdrew from the race. That's the former as a candidate of the APC and previously the PDP, Osageze Yamu. We had Ernest Umakie and, of course, Imaswen also withdrawing from the race. That's Lucky Imaswen, former deputy governor of Edo State. They've all cited the need for party unity and loyalty to the party. Imaswen did also mention the need to support a candidate from Edo Central, where you have mostly the Esan people, or the Esan people coming from, the Esan people, sorry, coming from. Do you think that, we've seen a bit of godfatherism at play here?
Everything is at play here. Money politics is at play here. Godfatherism is at play here. Political chicanery is at play here. What else? Political brigandage is at play here. So I really do not believe those who were saying that they withdrew from the race for altruistic interest. It's not out of any altruistic interest. You cannot withdraw from the race on the eve of an election where a direct primary is supposed to be held. Because that's the claim. APC said they are going to do direct primary. My brother, will the ballot paper be printed this morning? The ballot paper already printed. So how then will you say you are withdrawing from the race on the eve of an election for which you have been campaigning for months? So a lot of water has passed under the bridge. I think they were waiting for final last-minute settlement before they will announce their withdrawal from the race. But go and check the result, whether the result of the first or the second parallel primary. They allotted scores to those who claim to have withdrawn. At least the one I saw, Yamu was still giving some votes. Lucky Imaswen still has some votes. So if they knew they wanted to withdraw from the race, they should have withdrawn from the race before the ballot paper would have been printed. I don't know what the guidelines of APC is. I've not been privileged to read these guidelines, but I'm sure it should be somewhere in that guidelines that you cannot withdraw from the race after so number of days to the time of the primary. But situations where somebody chooses to withdraw from the race on the evening of the eve of the party primary shows that they were waiting for settlement of some sort. And that's why I don't take them serious, because situations where you need to print ballot paper, you ought to, I am familiar with that of INEC, that 45 days to election, you cannot withdraw from the race, because that 45 days, ballot paper will have to be printed, sorted, bounded, distributed, and all of that. So for those who claim to have withdrawn from the race because of party interest or tribal interest, I wish them good luck. But I know enough of politics to know that there is always behind the scene negotiation that could have warranted the withdrawal from the race by these three aspirants.
All right. Interestingly, Dennis Idahosa is from Edo Central Senatorial District, where they haven't held the governorship of Edo State for more than 18 months, following Nigeria's return to democracy in 1999, where Osumbo, who was incidentally part of this election or primary, held power. So some consensus from some blocs, like for instance the Esankpa, which is the social cultural umbrella group for the Esan people, have been canvassing for, a governor from that zone. They cite things like the neglect of that senatorial district. Some record, they have very bad roads in that part of the state. Now, we hear that if all things are equal, if the rumors are true, that the current governor of the PDP, is also Obaseki, may favor a candidate who is from Edo South, which is where you have the majority of the voting population, and where, of course, the Oba of Benin is from. If the PDP comes up with a candidate from Edo South versus the APC's candidate from Edo Central, where you have a lesser population, but maybe there's some consensus, how do you see this playing out?
There's nothing that has not happened. In politics, it's about negotiation. And I would be very delighted to have someone from Edo Central becoming the next governor after Obaseki. Look, I believe in power rotation and power shift. Lucky Binedion was governor for 8 years. He's from Edo South. After him, you had Adams Oshiomhole, doing 8 years. He's from Edo North. Meanwhile, we should also factor that Osareme Osumbo, who is from Edo Central, was governor for a limited period before he was booted out by the court. But at least for those who have served full term, we have Lucky Igbinedion, who has done 8 years. We have Adams Oshiomhole from Edo North, who has done 8 years. Now, Godwin Obaseki is from Edo South. He will be doing his 8 years by the end of this year. So now, where is the equity, justice, and fairness if Edo South produces the next governor? That means the domination of Edo South, the Benin people, will continue. So the kind of political arithmetic, political arrangement that led to the power to shift to Edo Central in the times of Ambrose Ali, of blessed memory, who is from Ekpoma. Ekpoma is a town in Edo Central. And the kind of arrangement that led to the emergence of Osareme Osumbo can also work in favor of, Idahosa, who has emerged. And, while the Benin's in the south are in the majority, it doesn't mean that there will be no sizable number amongst them that will want to pursue issue of justice, fairness, and equity. Because at least we have seen Adams Oshiomhole, who is from Edo North, also emerging and spending 8 years as governor. So it's just about negotiation, it's about building bridges, it's about lobbying, it's also about getting your framing your messages in a very constructive way. It is not to demonize the Benin people. Yes, they are in the majority, but let them see the need to back a candidate from Edo Central. And it should be very interesting, although we don't know what Labour Party candidate, who the Labour Party candidate will be, because I foresee a 3-horse race in all of this. So it is too early to presume that it's going to be Edo Central versus Edo South. And don't also forget, it depends on where the deputies or the running mates will be coming from and how influential will that running mate be.
All right.
Edo is an APC state. Even the 2023 general election, when you look at the number of seats won by APC at the State House of Assembly, at the House of Reps, and the senatorial seats won by APC, they are in the majority despite having a PDP governor. So it is still doable to have an Edo Central governor after Obaseki.
All right.
Just about playing your cards right, yes.
Interesting permutation right there and analysis, let me say. Jide Ojo, public affairs analyst, it was good to have you on the news tonight.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, and you too. Well, we will come back to Nigerian stories later in the course of the bulletin, but for now, we bring you updates from the ongoing African Union Summit in Ethiopia, where African leaders opened a 2-day summit of the African Union as the continent wrestles with coups, conflicts, political crises, and regional tensions. AU Commission head Musa Mahamat expressed concern over violence gripping many nations, both in Africa and other parts of the world. He said Sudan is, quote, in flames, while also highlighting the terrorist threats in Somalia, what he called external tensions in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, and what he described as the terrorist danger in the Sahel and constant instability in Libya. Mahamat also said the resurgence of military coups, pre- and post-electoral violence, and humanitarian crises linked to war and all the effects of climate change are all very serious sources of concern. The heads of state and governments of the African Union have elected the president of Mauritania, Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, as the new chairman of the African Union for the year 2024. He takes over from President Azali Assoumani of Comoros, who was the chairperson for 2023. His election took place on Saturday, February 17, that's today, during the ongoing 37th ordinary session of the AU heads of state and government in Ethiopia.
We'd like to congratulate my brother and friend, His Excellency Azali Assoumani, the President of the Union of the Comoros, for his leadership skills and for the efforts he made to promote the work of our union to achieve the aspirations of African people. I hail at the same time what His Excellency Musa Faki Mohamed, the chairperson of the African Union Commission, and his team are doing at the moment, along with the various African institutions, in order to play a constructive role to revamp the performance of the Union in terms of effectiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, what the fathers looked for was what we built together in terms of Agenda 2063. It reflects our plans to develop, to create the Africa.
Right, to discuss the developments coming from Ethiopia, where the AU is holding its summit, is Dr. Omololu Fagbadebo. He is a researcher. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so very kindly for your time. How did the 37th AU Summit in Ethiopia, in your opinion, address and contribute to the ongoing political situation in Senegal?
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, watchers. The AU Summit, all the time, I've always considered as a mere small screen or just a mere jamboree that will take resolutions without actions. And it's simply because most the leaders, as well as the AU itself, is not independent of the crisis of power in the global system. And at the same time, the AU has found it very difficult to muster its power and its resources to contain crisis and violence in the continent. So whatever that happens, we still have to wait and see. To what extent can this last? To what extent can AU intervene in conflict situations in Africa and get the best result out? I doubt it as much.
Okay, so as far as you're concerned, with the words that the AU president said about conflicts in Africa, do you feel that this may have had an effect on what's going on in Senegal? Or you think just because it's a smokescreen, it probably wouldn't have any effect?
That's like I said, because now we're having conflict in Africa. Look at the case in Sudan. Because you look at the Sudanese case, look at the case in another part of the continent, where there's a protracted conflict and crisis, and the AU has not been able to do anything in terms of it. We see them coming up with ideas that, okay, well, we are going to do this, we are going to do that, we are going to raise a standing army, we are going to raise an intervention force. At the end of the day, it boils down to nothing. So we've not seen a concrete action from the AU in terms of conflict resolution in Africa. So that's why I doubt whether that comes from the AU secretariat in terms of ability to contain crisis in Senegal or another part of the continent.
What key challenges and opportunities would you say were highlighted regarding the political stability and governance? Well, you've already talked about Senegal, so let's move on. Do you feel the deliberations will have any impact? Well, you've already talked about that. So let me ask you why? Why are we having this lack of impact, as far as conflicts across Africa are concerned from the AU?
The problem we have is that our leaders cannot give what they don't have. Most of the African leaders, the same factor that generates crisis, they are part of it. Are you talking in terms of corruption? Are you talking in terms of bad leadership? Are you talking in terms of crisis of governance? The lack of political will to handle issues tenaciously is not there. And so when we have leaders who themselves are problems in their own countries, how would they be able to exterminate conflicts in other areas when they are leading? Are you talking in terms of corruption? Or are you talking in terms of bad leadership? No, you can't. It's not possible. Because the same system they are using, what I call the perfecting error syndrome, that they are employing in their domestic environment in their own countries, the same thing they will project at the continental level, and it won't yield any result. And that's why you see that there's nothing African leaders could do in terms of the resurgence of coup all around, or what they can do in terms of containing crisis, violence in countries all over the continent. So lack of political will and the lack of that leadership quality that could make them to stand firm in terms of taking concrete decisions that will bring about peace. That's the problem. Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you so very kindly for your time tonight. All right, you're still watching NC Continental Prime. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we have more stories. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Still watching NC Continental Prime. The DR Congo's army on Saturday accused Rwanda of launching what it called attack drones on Goma city's airport during the night against a backdrop of fighting in the region against Kigali-backed M23 rebels. Lieutenant Colonel Guillaume Njike, the army spokesperson for North Kivu, in a video broadcast by the governor, said the drones targeted aircraft from the DRC Armed Forces and added that the FARDC aircraft were not hit, but civilian aircraft were damaged. Fighting has fled in recent days around the town of Sake, some 20 kilometers from Goma, between the M23, which Kinshasa says is backed by Kigali, and the Congolese government forces. The U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris says the death of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny in an Arctic prison is further proof of President Vladimir Putin's brutality. Harris, at a press conference on the sidelines of the ongoing Munich Security Conference in Germany with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, said Navalny's death is opaque or in opaque circumstances, reminds us of why our support for Ukraine is so important as Ukraine is fighting back heroically against Putin's continued brutality. Now, those were her words.
Alexei Navalny has been a brave leader who stood up against corruption and autocracy, and he stood up for the truth. The reports of his death are further proof of Putin's brutality. It reminds us why our support for Ukraine is so important, because Ukraine is fighting back heroically against Putin's continued brutality. So as we move forward, the President and I, President Biden and I, will continue to work to secure the resources and weapons that you need to succeed. We will also continue to support your efforts to secure a just and lasting peace.
Let's turn our attention to the world of business. Fitch Ratings has projected a faster increase in bad loans in Nigerian banks due to the latest depreciation of the Nigerian currency, the naira. The global ratings agency explained this in a statement and saying that, quote, the Nigerian naira was recently devalued sharply, and at the end of 2023, 899 naira to the US dollar, while in 13th February, the naira went for 1,516 to the US dollar, about 40% devaluation, exceeding Fitch's expectations of a more moderate depreciation in 2024, end of quote. The agency went on to say further, quote, that the large depreciation or devaluation is the second within a year, about 70% devaluation since end of 2022 has converged the official exchange rate with a parallel market rate. It adds that this creates a short-term macroeconomic risk, such as accentuating already high inflation that may weigh on economic growth, heightening loan quality and capital pressures already facing the banking sector. Ivory Coast Coffee and Cocoa Council has helped the National Police to seize 3 trucks loaded with 1,500 bags of cocoa beans on the country's border with Guinea. Low farm gate prices compared with neighboring countries have made the West African nation, which is the world's top producer of the main ingredient in chocolate, a target for smugglers from neighboring Liberia and Guinea, where beans fetch higher prices. A kilogram of cocoa currently costs between 1,600 CFA francs and 1,700 CFA francs, or about $2.63 to $2.80 US. In Guinea and Liberia, due to the rise in global prices, according to cooperatives and buyers based in Ivory Coast's western region on the border with those countries. The International Monetary Fund has said it has reached a staff-level agreement with Ivory Coast for a $1.3 billion program, which is meant to fight climate change, supported by the fund's Resilience and Sustainability Facility. The IMF said in a statement that Ivory Coast, which is the world's top cocoa grower, is exposed and vulnerable to climate change, and the reform measures between 2024 and 2026 will support Ivory Coast's actions to strengthen climate change adaptation and mitigation, particularly in the areas of agriculture, transport, infrastructure, and public financial management. The statement said agreement will be submitted to the fund's executive board for approval in the coming weeks. The chief executive of Italy's ENI, Claudio Descalzi, has said that Egypt is continuing to pay energy groups despite the difficult situation it is going through because of the conflict in Gaza. The North African country is struggling as all its main sources of foreign currency, natural gas, exports, tourism, worker remittances from abroad, and now the Suez Canal revenue have come under pressure, reducing its ability to pay its debt towards foreign investors. ENI's Chief Operating Officer for Natural Resources, Guido Brusco, said that gas imports from Israel to Egypt was impacted by the Israeli-Palestinian conflict last year, hitting Egypt's ability to export liquefied natural gas. Brusco said for ENI's side that they had seen 3 LNG cargoes in December and are foreseeing 8 to 10 cargoes in the coming months. And now let's turn attention to the latest from the world of sports.
In the world of sport, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has honored Super Eagles goalkeeper Stanley Nwabali following his performance at the 2023 African Cup of Nations in Côte d'Ivoire. During the occasion, the governor announced a 20 million naira reward for Nwabali and also stated that he would be honored with a Distinguished Service Star of Rivers State. Fubara praised the Rivers-born Nwabali for his exceptional display at a just-concluded African Cup of Nations. The Kenyan government has begun operations to complete the Bukungu Stadium in Kakamega County, ahead of the hosting of the Chan Championships in September. Sport Cabinet Secretary Ababu Nawaba did a groundbreaking for the 10,000 capacity southern section on Friday. The works include a total overhaul of the playing surface, which has been a serious challenge, sitting areas, ablutions, media tribune, 7 changing rooms for players, 4 changing rooms for referees, and the VIP changing rooms.
Eminent Nigerians are today being recognized by the Sun newspapers for various achievements through the year 2023. Now, the Sun Man of the Year Award has become a platform where excellence is celebrated from the science to the arts, governance, philanthropy, sport, and politics. Well, this year's event is awarding the Man of the Year to Innocent Chukwuma, who is the Chief Executive of Nigeria's indigenous auto manufacturing company, Innocent Motors, Tony Elumelu, the heir of Heirs Holdings, and is the second Man of the Year for his great achievements in banking and investments across Nigeria and Africa. And that's all at this hour. Before we go, let's take another look at the major stories tonight. We brought you news that amid controversy, Dennis Idahosa has emerged the winner of the APC primaries, and he will be the party's flag bearer in the Edo State governorship election. The president of Mauritania has emerged as the new chairman of the African Union. He'll be in office for the year 2024. We also told you that tensions continue to rise between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. This is as Kinshasa has accused Kigali of a drone attack on an airport there. Please send us your eyewitness report using the WhatsApp number or email address on your screen. Do that as safely as possible. Also give us a follow on social media at News Central TV on the major platforms. And you can watch us live on any of these channels or platforms. Many thanks for your time tonight. I'm Kofi Bartels. Have a great weekend. Good night.